In the annals of history in this video, few figures have reshaped the destiny of civilization as profoundly as Augustus, Rome's first emperor. Rising from the ashes of a fractured republic, Augustus, originally known as Octavian, steered Rome through a tempest of chaos and conflict. His unparalleled vision and strategic brilliance not only stabilized the empire, but also laid the foundations for an era of unprecedented peace and prosperity. His legacy endures, etched in marble and myth, as the architect of Rome's transformation from a city of bricks to a bastion of imperial grandeur. Emperor Augustus gave Rome a renewed sense of identity and power. He led Rome through chaos, overseeing its transformation from a republic into an empire. On August 1914 CE, the most influential man in Rome and one of the most important figures in the world history died. His last words reportedly were, "I found Rome a city of bricks and left it a city of marble." Nothing could better describe the impact Emperor Augustus made on the Roman world. When he was just a boy, starting his meteoric rise to power, the once mighty Roman Republic was marred in violence and corruption. Instead of allowing its fall, Octavian, better known as Augustus, the first Roman emperor, strengthened the Roman state, using the bricks of the old political system to lay the foundations of the ancient world's superpower, the Roman Empire. The path towards the empire was not an easy one. It was a messy and bloody affair. It became a period of uncertainty, purges, civil wars, and military conquests. Yet by the time the dust had settled, no obstacles remained for the emperor to carry out numerous reforms, touching upon all aspects of the Roman society, from the military to the economy. To prevent the violent collapse of his empire, Augustus spent years searching for an heir, establishing the first imperial dynasty. When his time finally arrived, Augustus could die peacefully, knowing with certainty that his task was fulfilled. The first Roman emperor restored the fortunes of the state and secured Rome against its enemies, leaving it stronger than ever before. Octavian, the future emperor Augustus. To an average Roman who lived in 63 BCE, the name Gaius Octavius Thurinus did not mean much. One could hardly blame them, as no one witnessing the boy's birth would have guessed that he was destined for greatness. Yet that boy, Octavius, also known as Octavian, was no one other than the future emperor Augustus, the man who would build one of the most powerful, influential, and iconic states in the world history, the Roman Empire. However, it would be wrong to consider young Octavian a nobody. His great-uncle was none other than Julius Caesar, who had yet to embark on his famed Gallic campaign. However, the boy's mother, Caesar's niece, did all in her power to keep young Octavian far from her famous relative. Caesar did not show much interest in the young boy, who grew up in the seclusion of the family country villa, far from the political machination of the dying republic. Octavian did not manifest the perfect qualities of an ideal military commander, as expected of an aristocrat in the late republic. However, he possessed a certain trait which would eventually lead the boy towards the imperial throne: boundless ambition. Against his mother's wishes, Octavian was determined to enter Rome's political arena and join Caesar's inner circle. He was not alone on that path. From his childhood, Octavian was accompanied and supported by his best friend, Marcus Vipsanius Agrippa. Agrippa was not a member of a distinguished family such as the Luli. Still, he had qualities Octavian lacked: physical abilities, military talent, and command skills, all the markings of a great general. Most importantly, Agrippa was loyal to a foe, a value that would make him indispensable to his friend and play a vital role in creating a future empire. Although he did not spend time with Octavian, Caesar kept an eye on his great-nephew. After all, the boy was his family. Having no son of his own, Caesar considered Octavian his potential heir. From 46 BCE onwards, Caesars began to groom Octavian for greatness. He introduced him to Rome's political life, entrusting him with several important positions in the city. Octavian even took part in Caesar's triumphal parades in Rome, despite having made no significant contribution at the time. Around the same time, Octavian's mother finally gave up and allowed her son to join Caesar on his Spanish campaign against the remaining forces of his late rival Pompey the Great. However, on the way to Spain, Octavian was shipwrecked in hostile territory. Nevertheless, the young man, he was 17, and his few companions crossed the dangerous terrain, reaching Caesar's camp. The act impressed his great-uncle, who changed the content of his will upon returning to Rome, secretly naming Octavian his heir. Caesar's heir. Octavian still lacked the military experience required for the highest office. To remedy that, Caesar sent his young prodigy to Apollonia in modern-day Albania, where the boy undertook military training and preparation for the Caesar's upcoming campaign against Parthia in East. He became the rival of Mark Antony, one of Julius Caesar's best generals, who had hoped to fill the power vacuum. To the Senate, fearful of Antony's military strength, Caesar's young and inexperienced heir seemed the safer option. Thus, the Senate provided Octavian with military backing and a task to defeat Mark Antony. However, instead of a destructive showdown, which the senators had hoped for, the two men decided to cooperate. Any hope of restoring the old order was dashed with the arrival of the third supporter of Caesar, Marcus Aemilius Lepidus. The result was a political alliance known as the Second Triumvirate, the last war of the Republic. Meanwhile, the relations between the two remaining triumviri, Octavian and Mark Antony, began to deteriorate. Despite being married to Octavia, Octavian's sister, Antony, lived in Alexandria, not hiding his relationship with Cleopatra, the queen of Ptolemaic Egypt. To say that Octavian was infuriated by Antony's behavior would be an understatement. The situation worsened after Mark Antony publicly legitimized Cleopatra's son Caesarion as the true heir of Julius Caesar. For Octavian, who was only adopted, the legitimization of Caesar's biological son was a grave threat. To undermine his rival and secure his position, Octavian launched a propaganda campaign, publicly denouncing Mark Antony as an Oriental despot who wanted to abolish Roman traditions. However, Octavian did not have to do much, since Antony continued to make bad choices. First, in 34 BCE, Antony shocked the Senate by publicly announcing the distribution of Roman lands under his control to Cleopatra and her children. Then, 2 years later, Mark Antony divorced Octavia, an outrageous sign of disrespect. Yet Rome, tired of constant wars, was not willing to plunge into yet another. Aware of this, Octavian decided to take a gamble. He forcibly entered the Temple of the Vestal Virgins and seized Antony's secret will, exposing it to the Roman public. This was a serious breach, since no one could enter the sacred site. Yet the gamble paid off. In the will, which could have been a forgery, Antony promised further Roman possessions to Cleopatra's children and demanded to be buried in Alexandria after his death. In the Roman eyes, this was tantamount to an act of treason. But the Senate was still reluctant to go to war. After all, half of the senators still supported Caesar's favorite general. Many of them departed to Alexandria. Despite the failure of his Parthian campaign, Antony still enjoyed the support of his troops. Always a cunning politician, Octavian blamed it all on Cleopatra, not Antony. The incoming conflict would not be between the two of them, but between virtuous Rome and decadent Egypt. It was a clever choice. The same year, the outraged Senate declared war on Cleopatra. Augustus, originally Octavian, transformed Rome from a crumbling republic into a powerful empire through strategic reforms and political acumen. His rise to power, marked by overcoming civil wars and rivalries, established the Pax Romana and solidified his legacy as Rome's first emperor. His visionary leadership and enduring reforms shaped the Rome's political and social landscape, securing its dominance for centuries. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. We would love to hear your thoughts and keep the conversation going.